Hello again to Mizzou fans across the Show Me State and across the country. It's our fifth of 9 consecutive live Thursday night Inside the Huddle events, brought to you by our good friends at the Tiger Scholarship Fund and our proud partners at Central Bank of Boone County. They're the official bank of Mizzou athletics. Always good to do business with a local bank and with local businesses during this unprecedented time. Good folks at Central Bank have you covered with Tiger checking. Give them a visit at www.centralbank.net. And don't forget about the Tiger Scholarship Fund as we continue to support our student athletes, their education, and their performances as they go out and play for you in the Show Me State when we get back to business. TSFmizzou.com has you covered right there. As I mentioned, this is our fifth consecutive week of live shows. We're going all the way into the middle of the month of June. Tonight, it's a doubleheader, if you will, as we talk Diamond sports. We'll be joined by the head baseball coach, Steve Bieser, and the head softball coach, Larissa Anderson, over the course of the next 45 minutes or so. And we're doing this because it's so easy to feel so disconnected right now with everything that's going on. And we want to try to give you a piece of Mizzou as we continue to be away from competition, because you fans are so important to us. Many of you watching are some of our most loyal fans across the state and across the country. We can't continue to fulfill our mission of educating student athletes and putting Mizzou-made members out into the community without your support. You've been there with us through thick and thin, and we're proud to call you fans and supporters, and we hope you continue to be proud of us. So let's get on with the show here tonight as we keep you connected to Mizzou athletics during the COVID-19 pandemic. We're going to start with the head coach of the Mizzou baseball program, the former big leaguer, native of the oldest town in the state of Missouri, St. Genevieve. But tonight he joins us from his home here in Columbia. It is Steve Bieser. Coach, it's good to see you. How you doing? How's your family? How's everybody in your program?
Well, yeah, same here, Ben. Good to see you, and thanks for having me on. It's family's doing very well. We're hanging in there. It's kind of a strange time of the year. I'm thinking about the day, and on my phone pops up the schedule that we should be playing Texas A&M here in about an hour, and looking to win the SEC this weekend. So when you think about those and the things that we're missing out on, it kind of it's tough. But understanding the situation we're in, and everybody's healthy, everybody's doing well. In Boone County, things seem to be really positive and how things are on the outlook for that. So. I'm excited, just the chance to connect. It's an honor to kind of connect with our Tiger fans and supporters. And I wish we were out at the ballpark doing this, but, here we are with another Zoom. It seems like we're on Zoom meetings all the time.
I tell you, I'm the same way. I never updated my calendar, and every single time when a little notification pops up with one of your games and I look outside at the beautiful weather we've had this spring and just, darn it, wish we were at the ballpark. And especially with the way your team was playing. When the 2020 season was cut short, you were on a 7-game winning streak. You'd picked up some huge victories over the likes of Oklahoma and Texas in the Shriners Classic. You were coming off a walk-off win and a sweep of Northern Illinois. And what was really starting to come together, you feel like, right when things were put on pause back in mid-March?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for our team was, this group of guys really loved to be around one another. They were, you get those road trips early on and you settle in as a group, and just how they just kind of gelled as a team was very special. But, key things there was the fact that we were just starting to get into conference play. Guys started to understand their roles and they were settling into those roles. And I think that's what made us pretty powerful in that stretch. And when you look at our schedule, that second game, the game that we had to win kind of on a walk-off win, that non-conference game right before we started SEC play, that was kind of a trap game because, you got your players that are getting excited for conference play. And that was something to see the team pull that out in the fashion that they did. I felt like we had something really special going right then, and that this was going to be a special season for us.
Yeah, you were supposed to start SEC play that weekend, going on the road, and that's when things were put on pause. But you had so many good things going on, so many players that stepped up, including a lot of newcomers, a lot of freshmen and transfers that Tiger fans were just starting to get to know. What stood out to you what players stood out to you in the shortened season, and what does the roster look like? Because you've got a lot coming back in 2021.
Yeah, I think that the good thing is, and it may have been tough for our fans, if they're watching us from afar, and to really figure out who's who. We were playing a lot of players at the first 4 weeks of the season. Everybody was getting an opportunity to try to figure out how things were going to settle and what was going to be that everyday lineup. But the guys that stood out, transfers. Brant Belk just got off to a tremendous start, and there was no doubt. Brant being a transfer from Pepperdine, he's hit at the Division I level plenty. And there was no doubt in my mind that he was going to have a good offensive year and really secure a spot in the middle of the lineup. But to see him kind of get off to the hot start, and the way he kind of, he got back to his home state in Texas and kind of carried us in those the games there in the Shriners Classic. But to see our young guys, the freshmen coming in, a guy like Spencer Miles, who started in the bullpen and worked his way that third weekend, worked his way in to be our Sunday starter. And, the way Spencer was throwing, he was going to hold down that role for the entire year. But, other bright spots on the pitching staff is Shane Wilhelm being one of those key bullpen guys for us, and Ben Peterson, who's got a ton of potential and upside to him, got off to a great start and kind of got slowed down a little bit by a little arm tightness there, and we had to slow him down. But as far as seeing our new guys coming in and how they were contributing, and then to think about what we have coming back in 2021 for that season, everybody's planning on coming back. Like I said, it was such a close group of guys that they're excited to get a chance to come back and play as a unit. And, I'm excited to have them back. This was kind of the year, I think about this year, and I knew that we would have some freshmen step up that would surprise us. I knew we had great, veteran leadership on our team, but, this was the year where we were going to see some of those second-year players, that the guys that were highly touted and big-time recruits coming out, like the Luke Manns and Seth Halversons, and you had Cameron Swanger and Trey Morris, and the list kind of goes on from there. And a local Trey Robertson was just getting back. It was going to be really exciting to see, because of the potential those guys have of what they were going to contribute to this year. But I'm fortunate that we get a chance to coach this exact same team again next year, along with adding some new guys that will really complement us well.
You touched on the experience that this team has and will return. And of course, student athletes who were in the spring, who had almost their entire seasons wiped out, are going to be able to come back. You've got 4 players in Peter Zimmerman, Art Hoban, Lucas Weinbergs, and Spencer Juergens, who are going to take advantage of that and really give you a ton of senior leadership. And how important are those guys going to be with all the experience they have to help bolster you in 2021?
Yeah, you look at Pete Zimmerman, and he could be one of the most feared hitters in our league. And I think he was going to kind of show that throughout the course of this season. He got off to a really good start and was really providing that much needed power we needed in the middle of our lineup. But to have him return and have him sitting in the middle of our lineup is going to be huge for us. And a guy like Lucas Weinbergs, he was really coming on the scene. He was, quite frankly, he was probably our most valuable pitcher in the early part of the season, of coming in and holding games together out of the bullpen and giving us a chance to win. You've got a guy like Spencer Juergens, who's a great teammate, great clubhouse guy that can really pitch, and then a talented guy like Art Hoban that we know that things are going to click for him really soon. I think we would have saw a really good backside of the season out of Art as well because of his talent. So to get those guys to come back and help lead the same team, as well as getting some of the younger guys and our recruits in, it's an exciting time for Mizzou baseball.
Now, the one question mark in terms of turning the page on the roster for next year is the draft. You and I were talking offline before this started. Sounds like the draft is going to be considerably shortened for Major League Baseball whenever they have it, which is going to impact the futures of a lot of college ball players across the country. 2 guys who it seems like might hear their name called in the draft would be Ian Bedell and Trey Dillard, who are 2 of your top pitchers. So you may or may not have them back next year, but what advice do you give them about potentially playing at the professional level? Because that's something you did, and what's the possibility they could hear their name called on draft day?
Yeah, I think the advice that I give our guys really is it's not about playing professional baseball. It's about setting yourself up to play in the major leagues. The dream of all of our guys is to get into professional baseball, but I always want to drive home that the goal is bigger than that. We want to set ourselves up to get to the major leagues. And when you think about a guy like Ian Bedell, who actually left high school early, came in at mid-semester and really had a tough year as a freshman, struggled that first year, and then all of a sudden, the sophomore year, he's the key guy to go to out of the bullpen, has an unbelievable sophomore campaign, and then goes out to the Cape Cod and is pitcher of the year. He's done everything to set himself up, in my mind, to be a first rounder. And, that's always been a goal of Ian's. And, right now he's sitting in the top 100 of prospects of guys in the draft. And that projects to be a third, fourth round pick. And I think Ian's going to have a challenging decision to make if he does end up going that late because, he wanted to be a first rounder. He is a first rounder, and I think he just needed more of this season to kind of solidify that part. But the fact that he's young, he can return to us and be, our Friday night guy there, and then be a first rounder the following year. He's sitting in a very good spot. It's our other guys that I'm more concerned about that you always have that leverage in your junior year, and organizations start looking at age, and you hit that age 21 and you come back another year at age 22. That can make it challenging because it's a tough decision. But Major League Baseball made it a simple decision really for our guys. The fact that there's only 5 rounds, and it's very difficult to be in those top 5 rounds. Trey Dillard sits at in the top 200, but that does the 200th pick puts him outside of the 5 rounds. So it's quite likely that we could have every single player back on our roster for the 2020-21 academic year, and that would be pretty exciting to see a guy like Bedell taking the ball on a Friday night, and Connor Ash, who would have been a top 10 round pick. McDaniel would have been inside a top 10. Dillard would have been inside a top 10. And it really hurts those guys from the standpoint of, if it's a normal draft, they've got a lot of leverage. They've got a chance to get some really good money in the draft. And next year, it kind of makes them a year older, and it makes it a little bit more challenging. So, there's good and bad. Obviously, the Tigers get stronger, but you want these guys to be able to fulfill their dream of playing professional baseball, to give themselves an opportunity to get to the major leagues. And a lot of 10th round, top 10 round picks have a very good opportunity to make it to the major leagues.
I will certainly be rooting for them as things, get panned out in terms of the draft of this year and next. But Tiger fans are excited to see all those guys come back next year in 2021. Our questions tonight coming from our loyal Tiger Scholarship Fund donors and Mizzou fans. And our next question asks about some of the new faces that we'll see next year, transfers and freshmen coming in for 2021. What can you tell us about the newcomers that you're excited about for next season?
Yeah, very good class, and really a large class for us. It's one of our larger classes, with 5 seniors and expecting 8 drafts, knowing that we had to replace 13 guys. But there's some exciting names in that. And they're actually one of our signees, Isaiah Green, is a top 50 player in the draft. So likely that he won't end up on campus. But everything's kind of, you don't know. It's too hard to predict the draft. But he very easily could have been could end up on campus if the draft kind of goes south for him. But very talented center fielder that can really, he can really settle in at the top of the lineup probably early in his career. Local, we got some St. Louis guys in a CJ Spicky and some of those guys that can really come in and be a big impact on the offensive side. But, the strength, what we're looking at is, again, just adding the arms led by, a freshman arm in Parker Wright and guys like that are really able to step in and kind of hit the ground running here. But we have a very good junior college class at shortstop position, a top 10 round pick, and Josh Day, and just some names, Drew Garrett, guys that just people are familiar with. So really excited to see what they're going to bring, and how really what that group does is they add some serious competition to everybody on the roster. and we know the competition brings out the best in everybody. So that's the exciting part of just seeing that mix of guys coming in with what we're returning.
Of course, facility is always the name of the game in the SEC, especially in baseball. Our next fan question asks, what are the updates on some of the projects that I know your program is looking at, specifically the future of artificial turf in the outfield, and also the press box and concourse renovations that I got to see some photos of the last time I was at the McCarter facility.
Yeah, we're going to get that done. I think, the time is not right now. I think really what I want to focus on, we all know that the setbacks and the budget crunches and everything that COVID-19 kind of pushed on to everybody. What I want to make sure that our players have a first-class experience this year, and making sure that we're financially set to take care of everything they need, from the scholarship budget to our travel budget, to really do things first class like we've been capable of doing around here for a long time. But we do know that the projects will happen. They're going to get done. We've got a lot of talk, a lot of support from a lot of different people that really know, number one, that we need to get this done. And I think when the timing's right, that we'll tackle it and we'll get it accomplished for sure.
I'll take this opportunity to remind people about the brand new Fight Tiger Fund. Visit tsfmizzou.com for more information about that. As we spoke about earlier in this interview with Coach Bieser, he's got those 4 seniors coming back. A lot of these spring sports rosters are going to have more players and more scholarship obligations than they've had in the past, and want to continue to keep this a first-class experience, as Coach mentioned, as those student athletes go out and try to do their best to represent the Show Me State and the University of Missouri. Change gears a little bit. Next question asks about the current vacancy you have on your coaching staff. How is the process going in hiring a new assistant coach, and what type of person are you looking for to fill that vacancy?
Yeah, the process just got underway. I think the job got posted yesterday, and it don't take long. There's a lot of great candidates out there. And it's a nationwide. I mean, the attention that this position's getting is nationwide. The interest level is just kind of, it's over the top, and it should be. I mean, what a great place, the University of Missouri, and to be in the baseball program and compete in the SEC. So it does garner a lot of attention, and the one thing that I tell everybody is that there's a lot of good candidates out there, but we also have some really good guys that have been with us for a long time inside our program that are ready and kind of chomping at the bit. A guy like Brett Peel, who's been here as a player, and then also 4th year since he's been out of school coaching here, and just has done a phenomenal job. I mean, he's going to apply and has a lot of interest in it, and a guy like Jason Haggerty, who's got 9 years of professional experience and in the Padres system, and been with us for 2 years now. Those guys really, are going to have a good shot at the job as well. But, what are we looking for? We're looking for somebody that really fits the culture of Mizzou baseball, that commitment to excellence type mentality, that win it right mentality, somebody that can really come in and fill that mold of, treating a person over the player. I mean, I think that's kind of cliche. You hear that a lot, but we're in the people business, and we've got to take care of our players and take care of them as a person before we really worry about from the player standpoint. And that's always been something that's been huge for me, is to get the right coaches, to get the right staff that really supports our team and supports our mission and our players.
Considering that you have Coach Corral there in that pitching coach role, I would be safe to assume you're looking at someone with more of a hitting offensive type background for this spot.
Yeah, I think it's definitely more of a hitting and a position player spot there, and both Haggerty and Peel fill that role of kind of that combination that they've had for us before, I think really, a lot of times what I want the best person, and as far as coming in and having we have an outline of what we want from our offense, and there's a lot of good baseball players or baseball people that can come in and teach hitting, and they can teach position play, they can teach base running, but we want to make sure it's coming from the right tone, and really the right person is really the biggest goal for for me is to make sure that they fit our culture.
Well, it's a program that's done a really good job of producing professional players and prospects all across Major League Baseball farm systems the last several years and beyond. And our final question here tonight asks about the hard work that I know you and your staff do in building and maintaining those relationships with your alums that are going on to do great things. Whether it's Max Scherzer having his number retired a couple years ago, and we all know what great things he's done across Major League Baseball. Kyle Gibson going into the Hall of Fame this past fall. I see Trey Harris around all the time in the off season as he's made his home in Columbia. How important is it, and how much work goes into maintaining those relationships with all those alums that are out there doing so many great things across pro baseball?
Well, it's the key to, it's the lifeline of our program to make sure that, when you've got a guy like Max Scherzer and Kyle Gibson who's in the major leagues and there to stay, they've spent a long time at the major league level, and Ian Kinsler and just that group of guys. I mean, we need to make sure that we continue to do a great job of staying in touch with those guys. The fact that we were able to get Max to come back again this year, and Kyle Gibson was in town a couple different times, and we have Zoom meetings for our team so that they can talk to our team whenever we're in season, and it's key that they're around as much as possible, and our current players love when former players come around, in the off season over the winter. It's a great place to train. A guy like Trey Harris was a mainstay of being here and getting his work in, throughout the daytime hours when our team's not around as much. But, when somebody walks through and sees the commitment and work that he's putting in, and then they see, some of the guys knew him when he was here, and then they see him now, and it's like, whoa, he's gotten even better from going into professional baseball. But, Cameron Meisner, Trey Harris, those guys, they were hanging around the facility quite a bit, and that's what we love. We want them to be back. And that's one of our goals when we look into this project of adding facilities. You look at a Vanderbilt, and they've got a pro player locker room. And David Price spent a good chunk of change to build that and make it just state of the art. I mean, that's what we want to have. We want our former players, whenever they go off to professional baseball or whenever they're just around. They don't have to be a professional baseball player. We need them, and we want them to be around as much as possible and hang out and just tell old stories and the traditions and all those things that we really need to know to keep our program thriving.
Well, Coach Bieser, you've been generous with your time here tonight. We'll get you out of here on this. It's the question that a lot of fans ask, considering that the season was cut short and everything from the offseason. Will the Tigers be eligible for postseason play in 2021 as far as you understand it?
I plan on playing in postseason next year, so my plan is yes, we'll be there.
That's certainly good news to hear, and also good news that you're doing so well. Your family and your program continues to push on through this. Again, we appreciate your time. We know it's valuable. Thanks for jumping on with us and talking to Mizzou Nation here tonight on Inside the Huddle.
Great. Thank you. M-I-Z.
Z-O-U. Mizzou head baseball coach Steve Bieser joining us from his home here in Columbia. But don't go anywhere. As I mentioned off the top of the show, it is a Diamond Sports doubleheader here tonight. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by the head coach of the Mizzou softball team, Larissa Anderson, when we return to Inside the Huddle.
Our arenas are empty.
Our fields are bare.
Our games have stopped.
But our hearts are full.
Because we know that our students are strong.
Our fans are full of hope.
And our heroes are hard at work.
So one day we can return, stronger than ever.
The Hearns Center. Hallowed ground for basketball fans in Missouri. The home of Mizzou hoops from 1972 to 2004.
Take the ball!
Doug Smith, showtime.
The building had seen championships, All-Americans, heroes, legends, but it had never seen this.
comes the first team in 23 years to complete the Big 8 schedule, a perfect 14-0.
They were tough.
And he goes flying over the press table.
They were talented.
Oh, tremendous play. To Baines. The Hearn center is rocking right now.
Head to the streaking Booker. Jams it home.
They were
perfection.
Welcome back to our fifth consecutive Thursday night Inside the Huddle Live, presented by the Tiger Scholarship Fund and our good friends at Central Bank of Boone County. Ready to move on to the second half of our show here tonight. We're going to bring in the head coach of the Mizzou softball program, Larissa Anderson, joining us from her home tonight in Columbia. Or maybe it's the Mizzou softball stadium. You're getting into the Zoom backgrounds there. I like that one, Coach.
Absolutely. I mean, I miss the stands and I miss all the fans, and I get to look at that beautiful stadium every day.
Well, I tell you what, you would have loved to continue to be there because when the season was cut short, your squad was red hot. I know you obviously didn't get to achieve all the goals that you had set out with the season being stopped after just one weekend of conference play, but you did achieve some of the goals that you set out for 2020. And especially as you look back on it now, how did the success of 2020 get you set up for what you hope is a great 2021 season?
I mean, when you experience success and your players experience success, buy-in is so much easier. I mean, it really is. And all your hard work pays off. And you understand what it takes in order to be a successful team. And you understand the work ethic you need to have. And they experienced that. I mean, starting off our season 9-0 and then going out and sweeping our first SEC series. You know, I truly believe that this team was made to be very, very special. The last weekend going into conference play, when it was Eli Daniels' senior weekend, I sent a mass text to my team and I said, going into this weekend, I truly believe that we were going to be 21-4 fighting for an SEC title against Alabama going into that last weekend because, I mean, they had everything going for them and it was built very, very well. But we move forward and we look to the future. We look to what our players are going to be able to accomplish coming in and really kind of getting their mindset today as soon as they finish their last final on how to prepare for that 21 season.
Well, you mentioned the fast start that your team got off to, the 9-0 start. A lot of those wins were on neutral sites against some of the best teams in the entire country. And when you think back to, the difficult offseason and the mindset that, could have been brought in considering what happened with the NCAA. Did that great start to the season help heal some of those wounds and get your team in the right place to get off to such a good start as they did?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going into it when you have NCAA sanctions brought against you, and my whole mindset, my whole life has been to win a championship. I mean, I've been programmed to coach to win championships. And when that's taken away, you have to kind of figure out what a different why and what are you going to try to instill in your team and what is our reasoning for going out and playing every single day? And we found our why. We played for our fans. We played for our university. We weren't playing to go to the NCAAs anymore. So we had a different purpose. And when you have the success, then it really kind of makes everything easier because, I mean, it could have gone two different ways. We could have gone out and we could have been 0-9 very easily in our sport and had tons of hits, but just didn't score the right runs. And then it would have been such a different feeling. But when they bought in and they played with such a great enthusiasm and energy and love for the game, and then being able to play at home in front of such a great crowd, it really gives a different purpose to what we're trying to do and what we're trying to accomplish. So now our players do really know their why.
Well, and your team did such a good job of doing exactly what you just mentioned and, putting the NCAA stuff to the side and finding new motivations to go out there and play. But then when the season gets cut short and they don't even have that anymore, our next question from one of our fans asks, how did you handle that moment, which had to have been devastating that, well, now the regular season isn't even there anymore?
It really started in November when we found out we were banned from postseason. The way we reacted to coronavirus was completely different than everybody else in the country because we knew our season was going to be short. I received the information in the middle of practice that our season was pretty much over. So then I was able to know that was our last practice together. We were able to enjoy each other a little bit more. I was able to teach them some lifetime lessons without them knowing that the season was going to be over. And the athletes, when you have that mentality and you play every game as though it is your last, that's really how we set from day one. Our first game in February, we're going to play every single game as though it's a championship game. That championship game, you're playing to play for the next day. So it was that mentality that really, when we found out about the end of our season, it was, guys, this is out of our control. There's nothing that we can do about it. We knew our season was going to end short. It just happened to end, a couple months shorter than we thought. But the priority is to make sure that you're safe, you're taking care of yourself, you're taking care of your families. We communicate with each other and exactly what we can and can't do. But it's a game, and there's so many bigger pictures that we have in life. And I'm so grateful that everybody is able to get this year back, because you do only get 4 years to play to have a collegiate career. So that's remarkable. But I think when you have the success that we did and your season does get short, we have no regrets. I mean, you think about all those teams in the country that have regrets, that they weren't happy with where they were throughout the season. They weren't happy with their performance. We have absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. We have no regrets. We're so proud of what we are and what we did that we only can look forward.
Our next question, kind of digs into your background a little bit in dealing with situations like this. You spent so many years at Hofstra in the New York area before you came here to mid-Missouri to lead this Mizzou program. And, 9/11 occurred when you were coaching in that area, Hurricane Sandy, another, very challenging and tragic situation, as this has been tragic for so many people across our country during this pandemic. Did those experiences and the way you learned how to handle emotional and very difficult situations like that, did that help at all with helping your players manage their emotions during this time?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm the head coach of this program, and I need to be a leader. I need to be a role model for them. We're gonna have adversity throughout our entire lives, and they're going to be looking to me for guidance. And working at Hofstra during those two different incidences, I mean, 9/11, we all experienced that. And here I am 25 miles outside New York City, and you can see the Twin Towers going down from the top of our library, is something that you can't prepare for. But that moment prepared me to be able to how I have to be able to take care of my team and take care of my players. And you have to communicate to them. You have to let them know that they're safe. You have to communicate to their families. You have to make sure that they're okay, because they're experiencing something that they've never experienced before, and they're away from home. They're away from their security blanket. The same with Hurricane Sandy. This is what you need to do during an emergency situation. It's not a joke. You have to take this very, very seriously. So then when we're hit with something like coronavirus, they understand the seriousness of purpose, but they're also looking to me as their leader to make sure that I'm leading by example, but communicating throughout this entire time. I mean, you can't leave athletes and young adolescents in the dark, because they're always going to assume the worst. You have to make sure that they know that the seriousness of purpose and that they're going to take care of each other. They have to take care of their families, and we're always going to do what's best for them.
Well, and you've got a lot of great leaders on your team. As we change gears and talk about your roster a little bit, you've talked a lot in the past about this last year's junior class, who are now going to be seniors, being really the heartbeat of this team. We're talking about players like Kayla Kessinger, Brooke Wilmus, and others. How do these soon-to-be seniors really, propel your program, and how good can they be as seniors in 2021?
They have the junior class and Kayla Kessinger have experienced so much. I mean, they've experiencing winning. They competed, and they're the only team to beat UCLA during their NCAA run, and UCLA goes on to win a national championship. They start the season 9-0. They sweep their first SEC series. I mean, they have bought in better than anybody. And to see the culture of this program and what it's become in such a very, very short period of time, it's because of that class. It's because of their buy-in and their level of commitment to the program, to their fan base, to their work ethic through and through. And they've been such unbelievable role models for our young freshman team. And we have another huge freshman class coming in. So when you have such strong leaders, and not only in their leadership qualities, but in their level of play, then it's easy to be able to look to them, to rely on them in those key situations and also that experience. But I couldn't be more proud of that class. Nothing takes the place of experience. I can't duplicate that in practice. I can't duplicate it just by telling them. They have to experience what it's like to compete with a game on the line and have those kids really, truly believe that their preparation is setting them up for that success.
Well, no replacement for experience leads us perfectly into our next question from one of our fans here on Inside the Huddle Live. And it's talking about your 3 freshman pitchers from last season who before the year was cut short were able to get some valuable experience. What growth did you see from those 3? And how do you hope that they'll take the next step when they're able to get back on campus and get into the next season?
I think one of the most remarkable stats is we had 5 pitchers get five different pitchers get 5 wins or opening weekend. I mean, when does that ever happen in college softball? And to have 3 of those pitchers be freshmen is really exciting for the future. I mean, being able to rely on 3 freshmen in those key situations. And I didn't really script this team because I inherited a lot of it, but I couldn't have scripted it any better. Where you have experienced players, you have an experienced catcher, you have 3 freshman pitchers that are being mentored by those upperclassmen, where you don't have the pressure on the mound the way you would if you had a freshman infield or a freshman behind the plate. So they're able to make some mistakes knowing that the upperclassmen are going to bail them out, which just builds up their confidence. They know it's almost like they had a trial year this year because they're going to get this year back, where it was their elongated spring training to be able to be thrown into the wolves, experience a lot of success and also some failure to be able to prepare themselves for the next 4 years of their career is really exciting.
Now, on the other end of things, your closer was your lone senior in Eli Daniel, and she made the decision recently to not take advantage of the opportunity to come back for another year. I'm sure that was a difficult decision for her, but she had a huge impact on this program, especially the last couple of years when she moved into that closer's role and really found a great fit. Our next question asks, ultimately, what impact does Eli Daniel leave on this program?
And she's been remarkable. And every pitcher growing up, they want to be the starter. They want to be the star. They want the ball in the circle from the beginning of the game. And Eli has truly embraced the role as the closer. She's mentored our freshman pitchers. She has taught them what it's like to be in the bullpen and prepare yourself for the game. And I think what's the most remarkable thing is when Eli and I discussed going into her senior year, we played around. Do we want her to become a starter? But then I think about allowing the freshmen to be able to experience some failure, and maybe they load the bases up when they shouldn't, then going to my senior to bail them out. She has taught this team, and not only the pitching staff, but this team, how to be completely selfless and embracing her teammates and taking on a role that is hard to do. I mean, very, very few closers. I mean, you even look at professional baseball, thrive in that environment and thrive in that role. And for Eli to come out of the bullpen, it helped the confidence with our team because we knew we were going to get her absolute best every single time and that we were going to go 1, 2, 3, finish that inning, and we were going to come home with that victory. But I mean, she completely mentored our pitchers, the discipline and the routine that you need in the bullpen to be able to come out of the bullpen, especially not having me as the pitching coach in the bullpen with them. She was an extra set of eyes being able to help them in that situation.
Of course, next season, you'll bring in several newcomers. You've got a highly regarded freshman class, 7 of those 9 players receiving all region honors coming out of high school. Tell us a little bit more about the newcomers for 2021 and what Mizzou fans can expect to see from the new faces next spring.
Yeah, big class. I mean, we have 9, and I think you're going to see a ton of excitement. Like if you liked what you saw this year in the level of excitement and the energy that they had and how much they enjoyed playing, you're going to absolutely love this freshman class. It's really going to start with Riley Frizzell. She is an unbelievable player, a huge hitter, will compete at first base. But I mean, her energy and her enthusiasm and love for this game is just through the roof. I was texting with her the other day watching the Michael Jordan special, The Last Dance. And she has texted me a couple times during like the College World Series in years past. And it was, we're going. Coach, we're going. I'm so competitive. And I keep telling her, like, don't be a freshman. You come in here, you have experience, you lead that way with your competitiveness and your energy and your drive. And I really expect a lot of big things out of her. Another special kid that we have coming in is Jenna Laird. She is a shortstop from New York. So I've known her and her family. I mean, she's been coming to camps that I've worked at since she was about 8 years old. So I really know her very, very well. And she's another one of those type of players that it's just fun to watch. She's very, very polished, a game changer, very similar to Jasmine Rollin. Can change the game with her speed. And she just has such great finesse at shortstop that I expect to see a lot of great things out of her. I think the most exciting thing is getting some of these Missouri kids to stay home. We got a number of kids that are in our backyard that were their dream school, and they're so excited to wear tigers across their chest, which is really something that we established when we came here as a coaching staff. Like, we wanted to keep those Midwest kids home, and especially those Missouri kids home, and make them proud playing for their state university.
You talk about staying connected to your incoming players, and of course that's so important in recruiting. But I don't want to end this without asking, how you're continuing to stay connected throughout, the entire program. Everybody is all over the place and doing Zoom calls and everything. How are you and your family doing, and how are you staying connected with the Mizzou softball family through all this?
My family is very safe and healthy. I've been married 19 years to my husband, Patrick Anderson, who is a manager in the Washington Nationals organization. And this is actually our first spring that we've lived together in our 19 years of marriage. So, we're getting used to that, being in the same house. So that's been a lot of fun, getting a lot of house projects done. And I have still my extended family is all back in New York, and obviously a different situation in New York, but they're all healthy and safe. Our Mizzou family's good. I mean, they're in finals right now, so I'm letting them, do as well as they possibly can, and we're setting some GPA goals right now. So setting some new standards for Mizzou softball, but our communication is on point. I mean, we're doing the Zoom calls, and we have some team chats. I think our most fun is our Snapchat, our team Snapchat, so we get to share a lot of funny pictures with one another. I've been communicating with our 2020 class and even our 21 commitments. Talking with their families, setting up some Zoom chats with them. And then next week we have a chat set up with our 2020 commitments coming in with our current team, with some of the juniors that you mentioned, so they can get to know each other a little bit more. And because they're not going to have the opportunity to be on campus this summer and train with our current team, we want to be able to take advantage of what we can and get them to feel comfortable with their teammates, their future teammates, so that when they come here in August, it's almost like they've been playing together for an entire summer. So that's really important, to make sure that they understand the culture and the standards, and they kind of get on board even before they're actually here on campus.
Well, Coach, we'll get you out of here on this. Same question that we ended with Coach Bieser. This was the season that postseason eligibility, as you mentioned, was off the table with the NCAA stuff. But is it your expectation that Mizzou softball will once again be eligible for postseason next year?
It's my understanding that our postseason ban was for the 1920 academic year, that a 1920 academic year is over. I play for championships. We're going out to win a championship in 21.
That's great to hear. And obviously also even better to hear that your family is doing well, and folks back in New York State are doing well. We appreciate your time so much. Thanks for stopping by, Coach Anderson, and staying connected with the Mizzou Tiger fans out there here on our Inside the Huddle show.
My pleasure. And I just want to thank everyone out there for your support. I mean, playing in that stadium, when that stadium is packed, it's loud. And when I experience games and I can see the other team in the dugout is feeling the pressure, that pressure comes from everyone in our stands. That pressure is not coming from us. The game is played on the field, but the difference is happening in the stands. And when that stadium, like you can see right now, when that stadium is packed like that, I mean, it is such a tough place to play, and we just got to keep filling those stands, get those people in there, get them rowdy. So we're playing with 11 people and not 10.
Cannot wait to be back in that place, in that beautiful Mizzou softball stadium, this time a year from now on beautiful days like the ones we've had here this spring. Coach, once again, thanks so much for your time. All the best to you and your family.
My pleasure. MIZ.
ZOU, Mizzou head softball coach Larissa Anderson, joining us here tonight. We appreciate her time. We appreciate Coach Steve Bieser's time, and we appreciate your time as you stay connected with us here. You'll want to join us again next week. We'll have another live show on Thursday night and another twofer as we talk Hearn Center winter sports. We'll be joined by head wrestling coach Brian Smith and head gymnastics coach Shannon Welker. Once again, a big thanks to our sponsors for this program, the Tiger Scholarship Fund. If you'd like to reach out to the good folks at TSF, help out with the brand new Fight Tiger Fund as we take care of the added expenses we will see over the next year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Visit tsfmizzou.com. And if you're looking for a great local bank to do business with as we try to support our local economies, visit the good folks at Central Bank of Boone County, their website, www.centralbank.net. Thanks for watching. We hope to see you again next week as you join us live on YouTube for Inside the Huddle. For everybody at Mizzou Athletics, I'm Ben Arnett, saying I hope you're staying well, and we'll see you again next week. MIZ.